In this episode, you'll meet Shawna Lewis. Shawna is one of the 5 international licensed Dressage Naturally instructors, and she's an integral part of the Dressage Naturally team. If you've ever contacted us, then you've probably interacted with Shawna. She's also a coach inside the Sweet Spot course and does private consults to help you discover which DN resource is best for you and your horse. Her vision as an instructor is to help students and horses become more confident and relaxed, giving students a way to communicate with their horse with clarity and understanding. I think you're going to love meeting Shawna. Hi, I'm Karen Rohlf, and welcome to Horse Training in Harmony. This podcast is about you making progress with your horse in a way that you both can love. It's about learning how to move and be in harmony. Because yes, you really can develop a horse to be both athletic and happy. When we show up as our best selves for our horses will show up for us. So let's get started. Shawna, thank you so much for deciding to join me on this podcast.
Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me, Karen. I'm nervous. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's funny because we get to see each other all the time. You're right down the road from me. And as you know, as one of the main parts of the Dressage Naturally team, we get to talk a lot. So this is kind of weird to talk to you on the podcast, but I'm so happy to be able to share you with everybody. So thank you. So I thought we could start if you could share a little bit of your background and what you were doing with horses and how you ended up finding out and just, getting into dressage naturally.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I grew up in on a small little farm in Western North Carolina, and grew up too, kind of like you, as a horse crazy kid. Begged my parents for a pony forever. My dad, of course, he wouldn't give in, so he got me a cow first. If I would take care of this baby calf, then I could end up with a pony someday. So of course, like I took care of that cow, and I actually ended up I would ride him and everything. So I mean, I was really young. I was probably only like 7 or 8.
I need to see a picture of that. Somewhere
With
there's a
that,
picture of you riding a cow.
I there is somewhere. I need to dig that out. It was so funny. So he finally then he came home one day, and he had bought me this little racking pony. Like, and I had been taking a few lessons. There wasn't really much opportunity right there in the small town where I lived to have anybody to take lessons from, but I was so happy. I didn't care. It was a pony. And yeah, and her name was Lexi. So I think I think back to her, like, that horse could not walk. Anybody that knows racking horses, like, she literally didn't know how to walk. But I was able to get her to relax enough that she could walk.
Wow.
And actually had to walk. And it was funny because I can remember getting on her, and it was like jump on, and we were off to the races. Like, she could not walk at all. So that was just the highlight. I had her for years, and then until I talked to my mom into buying me another horse, which was a really young horse. Which is the same way. I don't know how I didn't have anybody to help me or anything, but this young green horse, I had him for a long, long time. And then, of course, down the road, I had to ended up getting, selling him because I ended up getting married, didn't have a place for my horses, but he was with me for a long time. Yeah. And then found another horse down, after a few years. I think I was married a few years, had Noah. And then we ended up living near this other farm, and was just like, oh my gosh, now I can get another horse. So ended up bringing me to the horse Patton. And that was the horse that led me to natural horsemanship. I got him went to look at him. He was an older horse. He was, 18 or 19 when I got him. I was thinking back of, the story about him, like the lady was like, "Oh wow, he really likes you. He's never been this calm with anybody else that showed up to look at him." And so like had him vetted and that all worked out. Ended up buying him and then later, found out he has like a lot of trauma and emotional issues and ended up finding out about the horse that he was a polo horse and but through that's how I ended up in hearing about Pirelli because he wouldn't load on the trailer, just really like skeptical of people. But he was good with me. Like I could ride him. He was another horse that would get really like worried and jiggy and you couldn't ride him out on the trail. If you did, you could feel like he would turn and bolt. But he taught me so much and but then I realized like I was helping him too, right? And then heard about Pirelli through something, went to Kentucky to see them at the horse park there and was just like hooked. It's like, oh my goodness, they do so much of already the stuff that I felt like I was doing just naturally with
Mhm.
horses. And then to find this group of people that I could learn from and, learn more about how to help him. And like he was a horse that he went from like you could literally like, you could not take him out on a trail ride. If anybody else rode him besides me, he would bolt with them, take them back to the
Wow.
barn. But through, like, what I was learning through creating this other partnership relationship with him, I got him where I could ride him with just a neck rope on
Wow.
out on the road. I lived on these back roads, from where I was lived there in North Carolina, and with just a neck rope, no bridle, no nothing. And cars would pass,
Wow.
people would see me riding this horse. I mean, I could ride him out, ride him back home 3 or 4 miles from the house, and he was just a really, really special horse to me. He taught me so much, and that's when he was an appendix quarter horse, and that's when I really started learning about dressage too, and found someone about an hour, 2 hours from me that would come occasionally and just teach me more about, dressage and stuff. And then you came into the picture with Pirelli, and I was just like, "Oh my goodness, there's this person now that I can like really study from." And then learn that you were, you know, doing clinics and stuff. And I had gotten another horse, Walter, and that's what led me to you. He was a 5-year-old Hanoverian. You were coming to North Carolina, and I was like, signed up, was there.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait to see you. So yeah, that was kind of the beginnings and of how I ended up with dressage naturally or
So
learning about you.
cool. Yeah. And then I don't know, I forget how many years later it was, but then you're at my place and Shawna just she just I don't remember exactly how it happened, but you're like, "Can I help you?" And I needed some help and you came and
Yeah,
spent some time here and just really were at the beginning of creating Dressage Naturally as it is today as far as the resources and us being able to help so many people is largely due to Shawna coming along and giving me a hand just really with whatever I needed. And now you're such an integral part to of the running of the business.
same.
It's just sort of really cool how that
Yeah.
all grew. So,
Yeah, that happened. Yeah, that was back in, I think I had met you in 2005, or I'd seen you came to a Pirelli event that
mhm.
you were doing a demo. I forget the year of that. And then the next year was the clinic.
Yeah.
That was 2006, I think, that spring. And I can remember after that clinic going, oh my gosh, I have to go to Florida. I have to go to Florida. And that was that fall. Like I had remember I'd paid, I think, I forget for how many lessons and was like, I'm coming, I'm coming. So as a family, we scheduled to come. And of course, then my life took a turn. It's had some big shifts in my life, but I still was like, I just want to come. And I can remember you emailing me or we talked on the phone and was like, listen, I'm pulling in a camper. If you want to come, you can you can show up. So I just remember having my horse trailer packed and the car packed so that when you said, okay, you can come, we were on the road the next day.
Yeah. And the rest is
Because I just
history.
couldn't wait to get there. And that was like 4 months, I think I stayed with you on your farm.
Yeah.
It was just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been really fun. We all grew together, Shawna, like you and me and the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting
Yeah,
hearing
so
more of
much.
those stories of you with the horses. So it's kind of been like a theme when I think about you and how you really help students. The two words that came to my mind were relaxation and relationship. And like, wow, that was starting early on, like from your first pony. It's like the puzzle of relaxation. And then with Patton, the relaxation and the relationship. So it makes perfect sense that that's your,
Mhm.
I think, one of your, I'm going to say expertise. It's more than that. It's kind of your special sauce. It's, who you are. I think that's something that you're really,
Yeah,
really good at. And I've seen you with students and be able to and horses be able to really help with those pieces of relaxation. So um, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about some of your favorite ways of helping students and horses with those pieces.
yeah. I find, like, I know for myself, I've used the emotional freedom technique, which is the tapping technique, and I love the moving massage, and I feel like they go so much hand in hand, the two of them.
Mhm.
And then there's different reasons why I use different ones, but I do it for myself to really find that place of grounding, to let go of the emotional things that I tend to hold on to. And for anyone who doesn't know about what EFT is, it's a technique that really quiets the nervous system. And it helps to heal from, emotional trauma. It can help with physical pain, performance anxiety, or just anxiety in general. Really, you can tap on anything that you're feeling to help.
Mm.
And then I just feel so much better. I feel like I'm in a place of, I can really be in the moment, that I'm not in my head so much, and it kind of quiets all of that and just really helps you feel more relaxed and grounded. And
For
yeah,
people,
I've used that so much with so many of the horses, especially, like, I think back then, it's like I was thinking this too. I didn't realize it was a theme too, but as I started thinking about all the horses, I was like, wow, yeah, it has been like a theme for how I've, dealt with
yeah.
any or had my relationships with all the horses. Another horse in particular you may remember is the horse, Puck, the Arab that
Oh,
I
that
got.
Arab, yeah.
I feel like, yeah, he was had so much emotional trauma, and that's really the first time I got introduced to the tapping therapy with him, because David Lichman was helping me with him,
Can
and
you
he, like, showed me some of the tapping
oh,
stuff
okay.
with him.
Can you describe, like, for anybody who's still like, "What? The tapping?" Can you, like, describe what it looks like, what that protocol is? Just for anybody who's not heard of
Yeah,
that.
so if we think, like, in Chinese medicine, each meridian is associated with emotion. So for us as humans, the way I do it on myself, I tap on a series of points, which are through those meridians. So it's like the acupressure points. So there's different points that you tap on as you talking through a painful situation, or a situation that's, creating anxiety in your life, or a stressful situation. And as you talk through those things and you're tapping on those points, it's going to help release those feelings that are overwhelming, the stuck emotions, and bring all of those emotions into to balance,
Mhm.
because it really clears and opens up where those
That's
meridians, where there's that stuck energy.
yeah.
So, like old stories that you have, create trapped emotions, right? So by helping, it's a way to help you and your horse, like, let go of the old stories. Or with horses, I've seen it really resolve, like, physical and behavioral challenges by being able to tap on that. And for the horses, because they have, like, their own operating system. We know, like, fight and flight, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic system. We really, by tapping on those, and because they're so in tune with us and our emotions, it's a great way to help release those emotions in them too. So I start by tapping, like, on that bladder meridian
Mhm.
that, travels just below, like, their neck, just so that you're tapping on that, and then tapping, like, lightly, like on the withers, but really that bladder
So kind of
meridian is where
along
I
that
start.
crest
You
of
can move to other points.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just like the crest of the neck there, parallels with the spine, I guess, that
Okay.
meridian that runs along the neck. Um, yeah, and so by tapping on there, and you can be saying the same things to them. I find myself just like, when we're doing moving massage, it's very similar. Like I'm usually telling my horse, I know you're scared, or I know you're worried about this particular thing, but like you're good and you're safe and you're okay. I'm here with you. I've got you. Like you can let that go. So sometimes I tend to say it out loud, but I can be tapping at the same time on that meridian so that it starts to release. So it's something that happens with, and some people call it a technique, but I think of it so much like the moving massage. It really opens up that energy flow. And
So
pretty
cool.
soon you'll see the horses like start to lick and chew or just relax more. They soften in their eyes. The yawning, sometimes you can get really lots of yawning, a change in their breathing, a change in their gait. So, and I do it, I start it standing still a lot of times, but then I end up taking it in motion too.
That's so cool.
So, but I've seen it really, really powerful. That the Arab that I was saying, I did lots of it from him, and it made such a huge, huge difference in him. Like he had so much trauma. Like I got to a point where I was like, I don't know if I can do, do this horse. Like he was getting better, but he still had just, David always described him as the kite on the end of the
I was
string.
like,
It's like
he was
his
pretty
family,
wild.
he never would. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I ended up with him. I didn't really go looking for him. But when I went to see him, I feel like he chose me. I mean, it still gives me chills like to this day when I talk about him, because I went to see him. I had met his owners, very lovely people. They were into Arabs and they showed, and good for him. They had him in the English pleasure training, but they pulled the plug on it, decided to take him out of training. He was not having anything to do with that type training. Very like, you know, try to kill people, come out people with their mouths open, like bucking people off, like bolting, just all of those things. And I went to see him that day, and I remember them going in with him, turning him loose in the arena like that, most Arab people do, and letting them run around so that you can see them.
Mhm.
And we know they're like scared.
Yeah.
He
Get the
was like
bag
scared to
out.
death. But he took off. I know, right? But I can still remember the day. Like he took off, flying to the far end of the arena, but like wheeled around and come like just as fast back straight towards me. And I'm like, oh gosh, is he going to stop? What's he going to do? And I just kind of backed up a couple steps, and he literally stopped and put his head in my
Oh
chest.
my gosh.
And like, I mean, it made me cry. Like, and the owner, she started bawling. She started crying. She's like, I have never seen anything like that.
Wow.
And I just stood there with him and put my hand on him and like just waited. And then I was like, to myself, I'm thinking, well, would you come with me? I was like, I didn't put a halter or anything on him. And he followed me around and
Wow.
stayed right with me. And like, yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'll take him.
Aw.
I just, how do you, I didn't ride him. I didn't do anything. Like, I just was like, I went home and I called them back. And I remember they had me sign, it was pages of stuff that he had done to other trainers, and they were just like, please, Shawna, be careful with this horse, like, and he was difficult. He was like really hard, but like over time, like he was completely different horse. And I can remember he was the one horse that he really taught me patience. It was like, I couldn't push him, I had to slow down, waited on him, and scared to death of so many things. But he's with a young girl in South Florida, and he's her heart horse. So you
Wow.
know makes me happy. But
Wow.
yeah, he was. he taught me so much, but it was a lot. That's where I really that the tapping really like made a big difference for
Mhm.
him. I think it really like let go a lot of those things, and then I was just learning about it. Now I feel like I know so much more of that with using it with the moving massage that's made so much difference because
Yeah.
I love that exercise.
Yeah. Well, it's so
And
cool.
I always try to tell my students, yeah,
Mhm.
to do it more than not, like really incorporate it into their program with their horses.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think so many times, when there's a problem, whenever there's a problem, there's gonna be tension, unless the problem is your horse is too relaxed, but I don't think there's any such thing as too relaxed, right? But, that
Right, right.
we're dealing at a certain, whatever issue it is, and there's this tension
Mhm.
that's gonna be associated with it, and then a lot of times people try to solve the problem there. But I think what you are really masterful at is just dropping the tension level. And then when you do that,
Yeah,
sometimes the problems are solved. And even if there's still things to work on, you're now in a much more relaxed state to be able to like talk to the horse and think about it being education because now you have a calm individual. And I think that's a lesson I have to keep learning for myself, because I have a lot of techniques and I can work through a lot of stuff. But sometimes just going, well, maybe I don't have to work through this. Maybe I just need to drop it down and get to a
mhm,
different starting point. And yeah, and that's, I think
yeah,
you've got so many, that's where your focus is, and you have a lot of tools to do that. And I think,
yeah, that's what
yeah, sorry.
go ahead. That's
And,
okay.
I'm curious, I can see how, like, if you're teaching somebody and their horse is experiencing this, I can see how you can come in and you can demonstrate that and even do that with the horse. I'm curious, um, how you do that with students, because I've seen you do this with students. I've seen you be able to, like, calm students. So I'm curious, like, do you go and tap them? Or, like, how do you work through that? Because often when the horse is tense, a lot of times the people are tense, and who started which, I don't know, but there's definitely that dynamic there. So I'm wondering how you've played with that.
Y Yeah, like, I usually try to, yeah, when I have a person, I guess, who's really like either nervous or uptight, it's like just getting them to talk about something different, right? Or like taking the pressure off of them, asking them more questions, or just getting them, even sometimes I'm like, hey, just take a deep breath right now. Just take a really deep breath. Maybe tune into something else that's around you. I will have them do that, tune in to use their other senses to just kind of help them or calm them down. And a lot of times I find it's just really, even sometimes just listening, and just sometimes I'll take a deep breath too, which sometimes just helps them take a deep breath to relax and stuff. But yeah, I found that is one of the things too, especially if I have a student who, just has a hard time being in the moment. Like I'll just have them stop for just a minute and just really tune into like the birds singing, or tune into the breeze on their face, or
Mm.
something like that, especially in a teaching situation and we're with their horses. But I think just in general, like I try to, if I'm just around students and just like, when we have people coming for clinics and just managing people, it's a lot of just really listening to them. And really, I tend to like really take a deep breath myself and just
Mhm.
try to ground myself. So I'm really thinking about that, and trying to be just there in that moment, that they really feel that I'm listening and there for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've witnessed this. There's a reason I like to have you at my clinics here at home because, it's like Shauna's like a walking wind chime. Like people get around her and they just, you know, take that breath. So, yeah, but I love that. And it
Yeah.
explains, anybody who's interacted with Dressage Naturally, you've probably emailed with Shawna, and Shawna is, you're the one that does the consult. So we have these private consults where, if you're just wondering, like, hey, which Dressage Naturally resource can help you, or, how do I get through this problem? You can call up and book a private consult. And when you do that, you get Shawna. And I think it's because
Yeah.
you're just really good at that, and putting people at ease, and giving people and listening to people, and then just giving some helpful advice. So really, really
Hmm.
cool. And it's
Yeah,
so,
it's been so much fun to talk to them. So many
yeah,
different people. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you get to talk to people all over the world with all different kinds
Yeah.
of horses. And yeah, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk with you about, because you're in such a position to hear from so many different people who are Dressage Naturally
Hmm.
students, or they just found out about Dressage Naturally, but through, the lessons you teach, the clinics you've done, the clinics you've watched, all the emails that come
Hmm.
in, they go through you
Hmm.
first. I see this, I see a lot of them too, but often you're the first one that
Hmm.
sees them. The private consult,
Hmm.
your coach inside the virtual courses, like, you've got a pretty cool perspective. So I'm curious
Yeah.
if you've seen some common challenges that students have expressed, and what's been your advice, or to those for those common challenges.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that and a couple things. As I see a lot of people and talk to a lot of people when they call and they're looking for like a way to get help, right? Or a way to like, how can I progress with my horsemanship? Or I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong or things I should be doing. And they're really frustrated. They really let that frustration kind of creep into like what they're trying to figure out with their horse, why they aren't progressing enough. Why, another thing is like, I just don't have time with my horse. Can I even do this thing? Can I learn from this program? Because I don't, I'm busy. I have this family and I have all these things going on. And, that, they just seem to be really frustrated with where they are with their horsemanship stuff. And that's, and it keeps them from being right in the moment with their horses. And then the biggest thing that's helped me with that is just really like practicing mindfulness. So I help them, really see that. And then it's like when they are frustrated, there's um like the courses that we, I try to help them see like that these courses that we have will really help them start to progress, because they really don't know where to start. The other thing is like there's so many things out there they're trying to navigate through, right? So many different ways to or systems, like to try to figure out like what is the system, or is this really going to help me? Can I really do this online thing? Nobody lives in, I don't have an instructor right here to learn from. So I don't know if this online thing can help me or work for me, or like I'm just not like I need someone there to teach me in person, or that's what they
Yeah.
want. So I really, my advice would be that they can learn. Like that's, I mean, we've seen so many people have signed up for these courses, and I really try to help them. It's like that these courses are some they're going to have them for a lifetime, right? Like
Yeah.
every one of your courses, like no matter what they're studying or what discipline they want to do, it's going to help them.
Yeah.
And we've seen it happen. Like I mean, we get emails, so many emails every week, almost every day, people saying, "Oh my goodness, like these courses have changed my life with my horse. I'm so happy." I mean, I just talked to someone yesterday and she's just like, I just can't believe how different my horse is. She's like, "You remember when I talked to you on that call and you said, just trust me, it'll be so different. Your horse, you're going to be so happy and your horse is going to be so happy." Um, so I think
Yeah.
that's, just really encourage them to slow things way down, to get curious about the things that they can do with their horse. And because that's been really something that's helped me, through the past few years, like I've had these different challenges with my back and haven't been able to ride, or,
Mhm.
just with life in general. And that comes up so many times. That's challenges, with people with their horses. They haven't been able to do that. But I really decided, like, I'm still going to be with my horse. So I can't ride for this block of time, but what can I do with him? You have that podcast on that. Like, it's like, what can I do? How can I be
Mhm.
with my horse? It really helped me to even go deeper into that, just being in the moment with my horse and really seeing what they needed and really figuring out each horse. I think it
Mhm.
helped me so much with my horse Jackson, because he
Yeah.
was a horse, he's been a challenge for me. But like, just taking the time to really, like, I learned so much about him during that time that really helped me be able to progress when I started riding again.
Yeah.
So I think that that's huge. And then another thing I think I've changed for myself, instead of always thinking, some people have to drive to the barn or they've got to go. It's like, oh, I have to go out and get this done with the horses, or I have to get this. I was like, I changed that to anytime I say I have to, I change it to I get to. And that's made a big shift. Like, I get to go do this with my horse, or I get to, like, you know, go do this thing, or I get to go to work today, or I get, like, all of the ways that I could just shift that perspective and not get, like, so frustrated by my situation of not being able to ride because of my back. And then it really, like, helped me get more curious about what are the things I could do. And that's what led me to really thinking maybe I should invest in myself. And I hired the personal trainer, and that's made a huge difference in myself. So I think that's some challenges I hear with a lot of people. Just, to me, it's like they don't, it's hard for them to manage the time and find the time and really feeling like they can progress, or what system is it, or the amount of money they can spend. It's like, how do I know that investing my money in this course, like, is going to
Mhm.
make a difference? Like, oh, that course costs so much and I just want to make sure. And I can say, like, do it.
Yeah.
Because, like, you'll save so much money in the end. Like, we have so many people tell us that it was the best money I've ever spent
Oh, so cool.
was on your courses. So that's so fun to hear that.
Yeah, we get to hear, especially you,
Yeah.
we get to hear the before and after, and it's like the piece that's so cool that I feel you keep coming back to is um the common thing of all the challenges from the people. It's like there's a challenge and then there's frustration, and we need to somehow, like, I think that's
Mhm.
what we really do inside the courses and just with any student at a clinic. It's like, take that frustration and we've got to turn it into curiosity. It's like, just take a breath, break that cycle of
Yeah.
tension, there's the theme again, and just get to a
Yeah.
place where you're
Mhm.
here and, like, okay, from here, what can we do? I love that. What do I get to
Yeah.
do? It's just
Yeah.
so much of horsemanship and life is just reframing it and
Mhm.
finding a way to break those patterns
Mhm.
of tension, and they can creep in our words, and
Mhm.
then our words become our actions. What's that quote?
Mhm.
Our thoughts become our words become our actions.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah.
important. It's like, whatever the
Yeah.
challenge is, we have to approach it with a curiosity and yeah, I guess it does feel like trust. Like, yeah,
Mhm.
this can improve.
Mhm.
And I think that's what's I'm so
Yeah.
proud of with the stuff that we've created, is that we have that piece in there. It's not just another bunch
Yeah,
of
that was gonna
exercises. It's like, we've got to get you in that place where you're feeling hopeful and feeling
yeah.
calm and positive and curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that about your programs and the way you teach, because I think that's made such a big difference in how, of course, I teach and my students and myself. It's like when your horse does something, it's like, oh my goodness, you're so beautiful. Look at you. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, maybe we could do this now. Or, like, how about this thing? And, like, really, like, that, like you said, get curious about how you can do it, and what can be done to help them, and just really having that it's like, how can I help you? And I love that. I think about that with my students. That I teach, like, it's like, how can I help them? I find myself thinking about that so much, and helping them progress and helping their horses. And but I in going back to, like, dissolving that tension, right, that they're feeling, dissolving the frustration and giving them the hope, and that they can trust that this system it does work, like,
Hmm.
that they can. And you just made it so simple for people with, and having that step by step online courses that they can learn at home. Because that's the other thing I've heard people say, like, once they've took the courses, it's like it really filled in everything. It was a way for them to go back, just they didn't have to remember everything. They could go back and watch it again, right? They could go back and watch
Yeah.
that video and really get clarity on what you were saying or trying to convey. And then they go watch it again and they got another piece that they didn't catch the first time.
Hmm.
And then can just keep progressing and stuff from that. So I think that's the other thing too, that it really, like, helps fit all the pieces
Yeah.
together, you know.
Yeah. And
It helps them to put it all together.
yeah, and that comes back to the mindset again, because the mindset of the
Mhm.
person who says, "I'm gonna take responsibility for this piece." So, it's easy to, do the lessons and the one-on-one lessons. Of course, they're excellent. But, then when they
Yeah,
take the step on top of that and go, "And I'm gonna do the home study, I'm gonna, do this extra step and study this, back
yeah,
at my home." It's a little bit about the content, which of course I think is amazing, but it's a lot about that shift of
yeah,
going, I can do this, and I'm gonna take what I learned in lesson. Now I'm gonna go watch 3 other videos on that same subject, and then I'm gonna practice,
yeah,
watch that video before I ride my horse. So it's definitely a little bit about in the content, but it's about that kind of curious,
mhm,
self-starter kind of mind, that like that there's that trust that they can go for their dream, and we're here to help.
yeah,
But it's like
yeah,
their dream. It's I guess that's the empowerment piece that I
mhm,
I love so much. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I see that because most of my students I have locally are all in either the video classroom, or they're in the video classroom and the courses. Most of them are in at least one of the courses here, and it just makes it so easy to teach them and to help them see, and make progress, because they can go, revisit those lessons. Like you said, they can go watch a few
Mhm.
other videos, and it's like getting that lesson all over again. Because I can be like, hey, here, I'll shoot you some videos to watch. And this is just what we, like, played with
Yeah.
today. And now they get to go keep that fresh in their mind as they play with it over the next, couple weeks before I get back. And um, so that's what's amazing too about
Yeah.
that too. And then the courses, of course, the community of people and support. Like, I love that about
Yeah.
your the courses, and seeing people post about everything.
Yeah. It's so fun having you, so deep in the business that like you get to see that too, because I get to see that, with the
Mhm.
Facebook groups, and seeing the people that come through an email, and then after a few months it's like their family, and we know their horses, and we know, you know, and you get to
Right.
really witness all that too, which is why,
Mhm.
why we can hear, Shauna's excitement about the students who come to us. So
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun creating this, with you, a big part of it. Um,
Yeah.
so
I
cool.
love it.
So besides the advice of, yeah, use all the DN resources, what would
Yeah.
be what, what would be some pieces of advice to leave people with, um, to give them some hope, or some, yeah, what would be your advice to people out there listening?
Yeah. I think, like, well, for me, or to, like, what I tell students too, is to, you know to take it slow. Like, there is hope. We're here for you. You know, you can reach out to us. We want people to feel like that they're connected to us, that they can get support, and also to you know, to set simple goals for themselves, to set some goals, set some simple goals, and that way that they feel successful, their horses feel successful. I felt that with myself. You know, I can feel happy. I'm reaching those goals. So, and then if they, you know, if they are frustrated, to like just figure out a way to release that frustration, right? Like, release that frustration, release that tension, so that they can focus and be in the moment with their horses. I think that's a thing, that frustration, that stress of maybe not being able to get this or that done with their horses, like, takes them out of the moment of really being there. So, like, you know, just get rid of that. Find a way, find a technique, whether, you know, look into the tapping for yourself. There's free tapping apps or whatever it is, to be able to practice that mindfulness and be able to show up for your horses, and to have fun. I feel like that's one thing for myself that I really try to do, to just create more harmony. You know, find a way to create more harmony with your horses, and just enjoy the process, enjoy the journey, because it's your journey, right? I think sometimes we get so into like comparing ourselves to other people and wanting to be where someone else is, but just like, you know, it's your journey, like, and that can be however you want it to be. But yeah.
Awesome. Beautiful advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. It's fun talking to you on the
No,
podcast,
you're so
and
welcome.
instead of always just in my kitchen.
So yeah, this was fun. Got to share a few things that I don't get to I don't get to share.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you again for
No problem.
joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see you here again.
Yeah. You're so welcome.
All right, bye.
Yeah. Maybe. Bye.